So I finally made another build. It's not a proto yet, and it won't be a proto for a very long time, since I'm still going to prioritize two other builds I want to proto that I just enjoy more. And honestly, protoing this one won't make it a lot better, I know, although it'll definitely still help on what it does, though. But this build, and I'm just going to keep talking until I'm pretty much done, and then I'll shut up and you can continue watching the gameplay. That'll start in a couple minutes if you want on tier 10 escalation. Well, the thing is, this build fight's so boring. It's like, well, I'm not going to add music. Why would I? There's nothing going on. Like, that's what I don't like about Division is... Well, that's what I don't like about a lot of escalation teams in Division, because they make the gameplay so boring in my view. It's so boring just standing in cover the whole time, shooting from the same spot the whole time. And on this build, it's even more boring because, as you'll see, I'm not even shooting for the most part. I am realizing I should have shot some just to try and get some activations on Reformation talent, because skill repair does affect how much your Restore Hive heals you and teammates. So, but at the same time, it clearly wasn't needed anyway, so I mean, who cares? But it's just there, really, if I need it. This build, I mostly just keep my pistol up for the 2 skill tiers and then switch to melee something with Sweet Dreams real quickly if I see an opening, or if there's a threat that's like approaching the flank, for instance. That's something I can quickly dispatch on my own. Then I'll use Sweet Dreams for that reason. So it is good to still have it on this build. And I also tried going like soloing heroic, like control points. It was a giant pain, but I could still technically do it on a build like this. I just did it to prove that I could. This is why once I proto upgrade, I'll probably, well, for one, I'll have a lot more armor. And then 2, I'll have even more armor because I'll get another skill tier. So when I do, I'm going to go and get another 3rd armor core when I proto upgrade. That's why I got one of my hardwired ready to switch it to armor once I proto upgrade it later on, so that I get a 3rd armor core, in addition to just having a lot more armor from the expertise, of course, combined with all that. So, I mean, I have 1.1 million armor now. When it's actually done, I'll probably have closer to like 1.7 or 8 even. And then I'm going to get 3 more quantum augments. So I have quantum on my pistol, since it's the one I'm using for my tank build. But I will use 3 quantums. And then I'm going to get 2 status durations. I thought of going all status duration, because this build, as you're seeing now and seeing it in action now, is basically a healer and CC crowd control build, except I'm not doing the Banshee Riot Foam meta that a lot of people do, where they just stack status power and the duration of Riot Foam and Banshee as much as possible. That's a really good build. I'm not going to downplay it. It's just, I always like to do something unique, and combining a healer that's still needed sometimes with CC, I thought would be really cool. And I got this build watching someone else's video not this build, but he was doing hardwired, except he was doing Restore Hive and Seeker Mines, and saying that he's taken to tier 10, and the Seeker Mines are like good at like getting enemies out of cover a lot. And it was a good concept, so I definitely took his template, you could say, to make this build. But as I was making it, I always like to tweak things to my own interest and what I think is good too, and so it also becomes kind of my own build that way. That's when I realized, why don't I just use Banshee? Because Banshee's better at taking them out of cover, because the Seeker Mines aren't doing any useful damage at high escalation. Even if you stack skill damage, they're still doing next to nothing. So there's no point doing a damage-related status build is so pointless at like tier 6 and above, really. Tier 5 and above, really. Even arguably, even under that, it starts to fall off really hard. Like any kind of damage dealing status build just starts to be virtually useless on the damage front. But he's like, oh, well, it still staggers them. I'm like, okay, but clearly it's not as good as it could be if you go like something that's meant not for damage, but just like Banshee, like disorient, take them out of cover constantly, as well as making them not shoot, making them vulnerable. Sometimes I'll combine it with Sweet Dreams to like risk going up and whacking one of them and dodging away, of course. And yeah, see, I'm healing them, but yeah, I'm also like spamming Banshee. So this build, it's kind of like meant more as a healer, but then because I'm using Hardwired and I have tier 6, I can still have a decent Banshee just from 6 skill tiers, and then actually spam the thing. Like actually just keep spamming it. And look, enemies resist more and more as you hit them with status effects. So of course, it's not the best a status build can be. Unlike, like as you can see, I'm not keeping them forever disoriented, but it's so like constant. And even though they resist it more and more, they still keep getting affected by it. And I have such a low cooldown with Hardwired that, as you see, sometimes I can time it right and still keep them disoriented for a really long time just by timing it right too, timing Hardwired right. And yet I'm keeping my team healed. I'm a little bit tankier, or I will be tankier. And again, because it's a haste build, that's why I'm not going to go. I thought of going all status duration for my augments later, but no, because like this build, like that would defeat the purpose if you think about it. It's a cooldown build more so than a status duration. If I go all in on status duration, then I would just beg the question, why am I even using Hardwired with Banshee, right? But I can tell like getting just a couple to give another minor increase to the disorient duration, I could tell would still help here, where I would still give a little bit more breathing room, make my the spamming more meaningful long term too that way. So I think getting 2 will prove to be the perfect like amount of a little bit extra status duration to just offset some of that loss I'm taking on that front. But ideally, it's still going to be all quantum with another armor core and all that extra armor so that I can stay alive a lot better, which is really my goal. It's like, I'm not going to do damage. I need to make sure I'm alive so I can keep my teammates alive through both heals and disorient. There were times in this mission, I know, where like an enemy was starting to flank and I was able to time, like he would have definitely killed both of us probably if I didn't have, Hardwired immediately disorient them again and either whack them or get away. So it definitely came in handy. And yeah, so we're going, and just so you know, I'm aware that we have the tech efficiency event going on. That's also why I wanted to test a build that didn't abuse that as much as possible. I am getting a 25% skill haste buff right now from the global event. That's the only thing that's affecting this build, though. And the skill haste doesn't mean much because Banshee, as long as you have a under 30-second cooldown, which I do even without it on Banshee, that's all that matters because Hardwired immediately makes it... Hardwired nerfs the cooldown by 30 seconds. So as long as your base cooldown is 30 seconds or less, that's all that matters. And that's also why I thought Banshee would be good, because it usually has like a 25-ish second, so it's kind of within that perfect range that you can justify doing it. And I have a skill haste buff on one of my things, but I just don't have a third repair skill buff, but I'm going to swap that skill haste for repair skill. Now, skill haste still helps my revive hive spamming, and that's the only real buff that tech efficiency is doing. But even so, like, BTSU gloves alone make revive the restore hive, have less than it has less than a second on each cooldown of its nodes, I guess you want to call them, or hives. So even with no skill haste buffs at all, just BTSU gloves alone give a giant skill haste buff to the restore hive, which is all I care about. And then I go all repair skill, so I can still... obviously repair, heal people a decent amount. Not as much as the meta future initiative, I'm sure, but still getting close by going all repair skill. I still heal almost as much as they do. But then I provide constant disorient. And I still have, as you see, the benefactor, so I'm still giving bonus skill and weapon damage to my teammates. Again, not as much as the future initiative. I'm comparing this to the actual meta. Well, I just compared it to the meta CC build. Now I'm comparing it to like the meta healing build, which usually uses future initiative, and a lot use Birdie's quick fix, so they also revive quickly. And obviously I can't do that. So yeah, I can't revive people by, well, not revive them quickly because I'm not using Birdie's quick fix, because the backpack for hardwired is just mandatory, and BTSU gloves. Like, both of them are just too important for the build to justify using Birdie's quick fix ever. You could maybe, and I know people who do that, where they keep it on them and just manually equip it quickly when they think they can, go quickly and revive someone. I still don't think I'm going to try that, because I'd have to take off, like, I have to do two actions. You'd have to take off the BTSU gloves and put it on. If I only had to put it on and take it off, then I'd probably keep it on me, but it's like two actions I'd have to do, which in high tier escalation, any amount of time is time you could die instantly. So yeah, that's why I'm not doing that. But yeah, in the future I'm gonna get another 20%, or at least close to it, as long as it's just a high amount. I need to go farm skill attack, or no, gear mods, and get a third repair skill buff to replace my skill haste one on my chest, so I'll get another little bit of healing for me and my teammates that way. When I proto upgrade, at that point I'll get another 200,000 or 300,000 armor just at that point, and then I'll be able to get another armor core. And then I'm going to get 2 status duration buffs, which should be enough to offset some of the Banshee, the fact that, it gets weaker over time and I don't have status buffs. It's like, I'll get a little bit, but again, it's meant to spam Banshee more so I'll get 2 status duration augments, I think, which I think is like 20%, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like 10% for each one when you cap it out. So that'll be another 20% duration of Banshee, which I think will be a good offsetter while still maintaining the build, which is the point of the build, is to spam it, of course. And then I'm going to just make it even tankier, so I can stay alive a lot better for myself and my teammates by getting even more quantums. Like, probably 4 quantums. 1 on my pistol, 3 on my armor, and then 2 status duration mods. And if they ever make it so you can proto exotics, I'm going to get quantum on Sweet Dreams and BTSU gloves, so I don't lose quantum when I switch. And then I have a 5th one, which at that point will be over 20% damage immunity chance for every single shot that hits you. I think 4 is like 17% or something like that, but 17% with a lot more armor later on, it'll be enough to probably act as another saving, like save me from potential lethal sprays on me if I was like running to a teammate or something like that, which I think is worth it. Also, it'll make the build very OP on lower tiers, and like obviously heroic or legendary as a still support build if you want to use it like that, because I can tell you right now, I can already tank heroic fairly well just from the restore, hive, and all my repair skill, and then 1 quantum. Once I get a lot more armor, 3rd armor core, and then 3 more quantums, I'll be able to face tank heroic retaliations and maybe legendary strongholds at that point, because my turret drone build, who has less quantums, of course he has more armor and more armor regen, but still he has less quantums, but he can already, because I think he uses 3 quantums, this build will have 4 capped out. But yeah, you've probably seen my video, like my turret drone guy, he can already face tank heroic retaliations and legendary strongholds. So, but again, this build's not really meant for solo. I just bring that up to bring up its potential. If you actually really want to solo with it or use it on lower difficulties, then sure. But other than that, it's more meant as just a pure support. You can't do anything without teammates, basically, but you give them a lot by healing them all, giving them more damage and skill damage, as well as just keeping things just almost always perpetually disoriented by just spamming Banshee. So yeah. Anyway, I think I'm going to finally shut up, but again, there's no point. I mean, you see how I'm fighting. It's just so boring is the problem. Like, I have fun in the sense that this felt easy, but also at the same time, I didn't have fun because, like, I'm not really doing anything gameplay-wise. Like, again, that's another reason I like playing my tank builds, because you actually feel like you're doing stuff. You're running, you're sprinting to enemies, you're dodging, popping your shield, is having a ton of punishment hitting you, so you have a lot of fireworks and gunshots going all around you constantly as a tank, while you're trying to keep tabs on enemies, and again, like, dropping your shield at the right time to melee enemies too, and then dodging backwards and popping your shield again. I mean, there's a lot of action going on when I play my tank that I feel like, oh yeah, this is pretty fun gameplay, so you need some good music, but this I'm just sitting here. Again, in one sense, it makes it look OP too, because it's like that's all you're doing. That's all you have to do. And again, I realized I should probably take some pop shots to try and get headshots later on, so I actually get better healing too for me and my teammates. But I mean, I'm still missing another repair skill. The Restorer Hive has 32 charges. I'm using the BTSU gloves, so it recharges every second. I mean, it recharges each thing every second. It's a really fast haste just from that. And it still restores, or it will restore about, when I get the last repair skill, probably about 450,000 armor every hit for me and my teammates, and most people are not tank builds. So usually 2 of them is enough for anyone. So, and even a tank build, it would only be a few charges, and then I can still, like, restore quickly. So, I mean, I don't even see the need to use my pistol that way. But again, we use the card pistol for the 2 skill tiers, so I can justify using 2 more armor cores. And again, when we upgrade, we'll get 2 1.5s. So we'll have 1 skill tier on the BTSU gloves, 2 on the pistol, and then 3 on 2 proto hardwired pieces, because they'll be 1.5 each, so that'll be 3. And so that's why we'll be able to get 3 armor cores then, and still keep the same build with gunners, spamming Banshee, all the best parts of it, and be a tankier version of a healer for ourselves, basically, so we can take another hit or 2 to make sure that hopefully we don't go down. Because, yeah, usually, just like my tank build, usually when the tank leading the party or the healer goes down, 9 out of 10 times I see it, if he goes down and no one can get him up, the team wipes. The DPSers and random matchmaking just can't survive purely on their own. Again, if you're in a coordinated team with everyone actually good at reflexes and knowing and aiming and knowing the positioning and all that crap that no one, frankly, has time to pay attention to. I know I sure don't want to. Well, then, yeah, but if you are those try-hard players, then sure, you don't need tanks or healers or even CC. You can just go in with only DPS and still be fine. But that ain't random matchmaking. That ain't me. Even if it was me, again, that's not random matchmaking. I've been DPS build 2s, and people go, like, teams wipe all the time on high-tier escalation when everyone's running DPS. And then again, like, I'm the healer, I'm the tank, and if I go down on those rare instances, the team wipes more often than not when I am down and no one can get me up, so. Anyway, you see, I still got a few kills at least. But yeah, I guess I talked through the whole video, but we're done now.